I'd like to call this meeting to order. This is the meeting of the Livingston Parish Council. It is January 27th, 2022. It is 6:08. So right now, Mr. McMorris had the invocation, and he's not here. Miss Sandy, you mind doing the invocation for us since he's not here? Everybody please rise.
Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for your grace and your mercy. And Lord, we just want to admit our need for you. Lord, please continue to watch over the people in our parish. And we want to tell you, Lord, that you alone are worthy of all the praise. And we just thank you, Lord, that we're able to stand here in the freedom that you give us, Lord, to be in this room together. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Mr. King, can you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Miss Sandy, call roll, please.
Mr. Mack.
Here.
Mr. Wascom.
Here.
Mr. Talbert.
Here.
Mr. Harris.
Here.
Mr. McMorris. Mr. Delatt.
Here.
Mr. King.
Here.
Mr. Girlinghouse.
Here.
Mr. Ard.
Here. All right, right now I'd like to remind everyone, if you have a cell phone, to please turn it off, silence it, mute it. Public input, anyone wishing to address an item, when we get on that item, just come up, state your name and your address, and we'll give you 3 minutes to address it. Presentations, we have no presentations today. Item 8, adoption of the minutes of the January 13th, 2022 regular meeting of the council.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Girlinghouse, second by Mr. Harris. All in favor?
Aye.
Item 9, parish president report.
Parish President's not here tonight, but he asked that on the Florida Parish Human Services Authority Board member term appointment, if you'll read the letter that the board asked that Ms. Charlene Lilly be reappointed, and he would like that the council make that reappointment for him.
All right, so we got that's a motion, Mr. Talbot.
Yeah, make a motion to make the appointment of Ms. Charlene Lilly.
So that's a motion from Mr. Talbot, and I have a second for that, second from Mr. Mack. Is there any objections, any comments from the audience? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. 10A, the Livingston Parish Grant Office. Would that be you, Mr. Harrell?
Yes, Mr. Steve is actually doing great. He hopes to get released tomorrow, Monday. So he should be back aggravating you and me not doing it. So it'll be great. Well, the first one is introduction of an ordinance for another buyout. So if we could handle that one, I'd appreciate that.
All right. So this, the part 10A, that's an introduction, an ordinance to acquire immovable property for the parish of Livingston pursuant the Flood Mitigation Assistance Program. Project number FMA.
I can make that motion, but whose area is it?
It's Denham Springs. Sherry Lane, Denham Springs.
That's mine. I'd like to make the motion. I'll second.
I'll second the motion.
We got a motion. I need to finish reading it, Sandy.
Yeah.
All right, so, program project number FMA-PJ-06-LA-2019-032, Livingston Parish, located at 10714 Sherry Lane, Denham Springs, Louisiana, 70726. We got a motion from Mr. Wascom, a second from Mr. Delatt. Is there any comments from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Mr. Chairman, could I make one comment on that?
Sure.
Mr. Talbot, remember last time I was up here, you asked, how come some were 75-25? FMA is a larger amount, so that way, you know, these people actually get more than the 75-25.
Okay, I just curious. All right, thank you.
It's just a different grant.
I think that
All right.
was in your district, Bob.
10B,
That's why.
All right, that's a resolution authorizing parish president to execute a contract. It's for the Sims Road project. It's a DOTD project, but we have to sign the contract. So If I can get a resolution on that, I'd appreciate it.
I'll make that motion.
Motion from Mr. Talbot, second from Mr. Girlinghouse. Any comments from the public on this?
When you finish this, can we go back and set the public hearing and announce
Sure.
it? Okay.
Right.
Hold up, Mr. Jeff. On B, on my paper on B, it's showing the letter that's on C.
Did I not give you the correct agenda?
Yeah,
No,
ten
no,
B.
on here, oh, you mean it might have changed. You gave me a new one. I got one.
I'm good.
All right. Either way, they're gonna be, yeah, okay.
All right, so we had a motion on this. We had a motion from Mr. Talbot, second was from Mr. Girlinghouse. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, we'll go back to 10A. Ms. Sandy, you'd like to set the
Yeah,
public hearing?
this will be proposed ordinance 22-01, and the public hearing will be on February 10th at 6 PM.
All right. 10C.
All right, just another resolution authorizing the parish president to sign a contract with Laterra Engineering for the early warning rain gauge project through hazard mitigation.
Question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Mark, is that, do we know the locations of those, where those are gonna be at? We don't know yet.
Now, I think
When
it
I
was
mean
originally
location,
talked about way back.
Yeah.
You get some of the schools involved and on rain gauges and things like that. That way they watch them, they have internet service,
Okay.
things like that, but all that'll be worked out.
Okay, and those are for the Mid River Basin, is that
It's for the parish.
the whole parish? Okay, thank you.
Any more comments? All right, can I get a motion for the resolution? Motion from Mr. Mack, second from Mr. Girlinghouse. Any comment from the public? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, 10D.
All right, so another resolution authorizing the parish president enter contract with Alvin Fairbairn and Associates for the waterway debris. I know we talked about that on at the last meeting. It's just gonna be a repeat of what we did last time, and I know there's not a cost share on that yet. It's being worked on, and Walker's gonna cover some, so we really need to get the ball rolling.
I'd like to make that motion so we can get started.
So we got a motion from Mr. Delat, a second from Mr. Mack. Is there any other comments on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right,
Thank y'all so much.
all right, thank you. All right. Well, Ms. Jennifer, let's see. Discussion. All right, well, let's do the addendum right now before they get out of here. All right, addendum A1, this is to adopt a resolution to hire a deputy clerk to fill the vacant position. And, Ms. Jennifer, I think we have a couple of questions before we do this on the financing. So, some of our issues is COVID-related on this. A couple of weeks ago, we had no one in the office at all because Ms. Sandy was the only employee here. She got quarantined, so she was out. Miss Lauren's out with a baby. So it's brought up the need to get somebody in here.
Okay.
So, what we want to know is on the financing, where we stand, what can we do?
Okay. So you currently are only budgeted for Miss Sandy and Miss Lauren. And you would have to give me a verbal authorization to go ahead and spend any additional money, which verbal is fine. You know, I just need to know that come September, when we go to actually amend the budget, you're not gonna be like, whoa, we're not doing it, you know. But I think what I hear you telling me is this is COVID related and we're having a little trouble finding an employee that wants to come for what we can pay. And we therefore can use ARPA funding to hire an employee.
So. if I
A temporary
understand this,
employee.
If we hire a temporary clerical, somebody to answer the phone, do filing, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
That we can use this funding to fund it.
Yes, sir.
Without
Now,
amending the budget.
we can use ARPA funding, listen, Miss Sandy, We can use ARPA funding to hire a full-time employee with benefits, all privileges of an employee at the Livingston Parish Council. That temporary time span would run until right now, the cutoff is 12/31/2024. So therefore, 1/1/2025, we would have to hire them permanently. So the ARPA funding would pay for a temporary employee that's needed due to COVID until 12/31/2024. That would
And then at
allow
that
us to
time,
not
we
have to
just
put that
hire
employee in our budget.
So, but my question is, if we're gonna hire somebody, why do we need to hire a full clerk? Why don't we just hire a clerk? I mean, that's the issue. We need somebody to answer the phone on occasion and do filing. This is a temporary situation that will resolve itself at the end of March. And both people will be back in the office at the end of March. I mean, it's a temporary situation we're looking for a permanent solution to. So my thought process is if we hire someone temporary clerical help, whether we make them full-time or part-time is kind of irrelevant. But to put on a $40,000 a year person plus benefits, what are we looking at, about 100,000, 105,000? I mean, at least 80, but when with insurance costs, because I just know what freaking insurance costs for one person is, what, $900 a month?
It depends on if they have employee-only coverage or family coverage also, because
Right, but
it can get hefty.
and so, I mean, it just seems to me from a fiscally responsible, we know that two people are capable of running the office. We have a temporary problem until the end of March. It seems ridiculous to spend that kind of money to solve a temporary problem.
And listen, guys, I don't care either way. You tell me, add it to the budget and spend it out of the budget, or do a temporary COVID employee and pay for them with the ARPA funds. You have the option of making temporary anytime that you want to. So if you wanted to tell me, okay, hire a temporary employee for 90 days, that term of employment that the employee signs will be for 90 days. You have to evaluate at that point if you want to continue their temporary, if there's a need to continue with them temporarily, or if you would like to make them a permanent employee. It doesn't have to be like one-time decision. You can structure this whatever time period you want to structure it over.
Shane?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
You know, some people may feel differently about this. I mean, my personal opinion is we definitely need 3. I think there's enough work in the office that keep 3 people busy at all times. I know I've struggled to get some of my questions answered, because, people been out with COVID and that type of thing. I want to ask you a question. I do think that it's a good idea we go temporary. I would like to extend that to the full term maximum allowed through the ARPA program. And I would like for their duties to not be restricted. I mean, you just never know who's going to be out and who's going to be covering what.
There would be no
and
restriction of
There's
duties.
no restriction of duties.
They would be a full-time employee. They would be a true full-time employee. The only thing temporary is their time period,
Right.
And
that would extend to when, if
if you decide that your need of that employee due to COVID is long-term, it's through the end of 2024. So right now, I can use our ARPA funds on projects through 12/31/2024. That time period may get extended. I mean, like, we're very early in this ARPA funding path here, so that time, it could get extended. But right now, the rule is that's the cutoff.
Okay, so, I mean, I don't want to keep interrupting, but, I mean, my thought would be that would be the right move to make, and I'd like to make the motion that we go in that direction. Hire the person on temporary, fund it out of this ARPA program, let it go to the end of 2024 as allowed through the program, and get us, 3 hardworking clerks back in the office to fulfill the needs of the council. I mean, if the majority agrees, I'd like to make that motion.
All right, we'll hold your motion. Scooter?
Yeah, Jennifer, that's why I called you earlier about the budget, because I was concerned that we didn't budget enough for 3 full-time people.
We did not.
And we did not. And so that would be the only way that I would be okay with it as a
Right.
temporary too, and then we could evaluate down the road. I agree with Gary that I think we needed a clerical, and that's what we've been saying for, back the past 2 or 3 months as all this was happening, you know, COVID was hitting us pretty hard, and then it would leave and it'd come back.
Right.
And, but as long as ARPA will cover it, I think we should do that for the, you know, till the end of 2024. Because it's gonna be hard to find somebody just
Right.
temporary clerical, you know.
All right, I've got
That's just
I've
my
got a
take.
couple of things I want to add.
Okay.
First, you asking somebody to leave a permanent job for something that says temporary. No matter how you put it, how you slice it, dice it, it still says temporary on it. And you're asking them to walk away from a job to come here. And people are not easy to find. There's a lot of businessmen up here that know employees are not easy to find right now.
And that's
Yeah.
one of
Fair.
the reasons you can use the ARPA funding is because to be able to compete in the marketplace with pay, because we're allowed to use it to pay jail premium for the jail nurses because we can't competitively pay our nurses what you're getting paid at a hospital right now. I mean, the pay rates are through the roof.
Also, with it running through 2024, you're gonna have to tell them you're going to be determined by the next council, not this council. We won't be here.
Unless we make them permanent during
If you make them permanent,
next
they
year.
have a job.
By the end of next year,
Right.
we could make them permanent.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's, you're asking somebody to take a gamble,
So-
to come here to help
This is the
us.
question you should ask. So if we made them permanent right now, would it still pay through the end of
No.
2024?
No, ARPA can't do
No,
it.
if
So
we
you
make
have to
them
make it
permanent, it's not
temporary.
ARPA funding.
Okay.
Mr.
so
Chairman.
That's the problem.
I have a question.
Wait, Ray.
It's, I heard good proposals, good points on both sides. Louisiana's at will state in employment. What that means is nobody's offered a permanent job. When the next group comes on, they may decide they just need one clerk, or they may decide they need 5 clerks. Or this group may decide next year 1 or 5. None of it's permanent. What the treasurer has told us is good news in the fact that it doesn't cost us any money right now, and we can make that decision at any time that we want to make that decision. But the good news is it won't come out of our pocket. But I did like what Garrett said, and I wouldn't be opposed to what he said either. I have a little bit of confusion on Ms. Sandy is the supervisor of those employees, correctly?
Correct.
And when we would hire those employees, it'd be her job to give them, delegate the duties they would have, right?
Correct.
So I don't think we should get into the part of saying you can only do this or you can only do that. I think the clerk should be hired to work underneath Ms. Sandy if we decide to hire one. But I'll be okay with hiring being we don't have to pay, but at a later time when we have to pay, I don't want to hurt anybody else's feeling. I think this office can run on 2 employees. I really do. So.
Go ahead, Tracy.
All right, so to be clear, most of us, or a few of us, have been in this seats for 6 years. And in that 6 years, 5.5 years, we've had 3, sometimes 4 back there. Just because we're operating at 2 doesn't mean it's ideal. They're getting by. And so we're not asking, yes, we're asking to amend the budget to hire a 3rd. But I want it to be clear to everyone, the standard was always 3 until last year, or halfway through last year when we went to 2 employees. And then we amended the budget for 2 because we only had 2 at the time. So we're not trying to, I guess we are trying to amend, we would have to amend the budget if we hired someone for a 3rd, but we've
back to the
always
way it
had
was.
3 or 4. That's the way it was. And at one point when I was chairman, they didn't train everyone the same. And I said, if we have 3 people, if 2 of them are sick, we need 1 to be able to sit up here and run the meeting. And so I pushed that everyone was trained to do every job at some capacity, because it is important. Because lo and behold, we got put in a position to where at some point somebody had to do something, and the one person there has had to step up and do it. And I was glad that everyone was trained, because everyone should. You don't know what's going to happen.
Well, that's right.
But my point is this.
the budget was amended to 2 last year. It's pretty much always been 3. So we're not asking for anything special. We're just asking for it to go back to the way it was. And just because you can operate with 2 people in the office doesn't mean that it's ideal. Because it's a lot of stress, a lot of mistakes can get made because 1 or 2 people are trying to push to get something done. And there's a lot of things that have to be exactly right. So I just wanted to clear that up. We all know that we've had 3 people for the most part. And I think we need 3. Now, as far as using the ARPA funding, I get what you're saying. I also get what Mr. Ard's saying, that, you know, you hire someone on a temporary basis, but you're absolutely right, Mr. Lett. This is an at-will state, so all of our jobs are temporary to some degree. I don't have a problem with the ARPA funding, using that, but I did want to clarify that we normally operate with 3 clerks. 3.
How long is normally operating with 3 mean? Because I remember when it was 1, then I remember when it got to 2. I don't never remember.
Well, I can tell you the 6 years I've been here, it's been 3, sometimes 4.
Okay, so 6 years ago, we changed this.
Well, it was
It's been longer than that.
When we
It was
came
3
in
before
office,
we got here.
when we came in office, it was 3.
And listen,
That's the question I
We
asked.
came in
you
office,
can
there was.
choose y'all's last day, 12/31/2023, or whatever is before the new term. You can make them permanent that day. You don't have to wait until 12/31/2024. You know what I'm saying? Just,
That way the new council.
they're temporary while you have a need due to COVID. When you don't have a need due to COVID, you make them permanent.
What's your motion?
For myself, personally, I think we should go ahead and hire the person back permanent, just like it was before. That's just my opinion.
I think you
I mean,
I'm sorry.
I'm kind of with Bubba on this, because I mean, it's not like we're asking for something new. We're just trying to put it back the way it was.
Well, Jeff,
that a
you
motion?
you were
No.
chairman of finance when we introduced the budget.
Second.
That didn't have the 3rd person in it. And the recommendation came out of the finance committee to go with 2 people. And all of a sudden now, we're 2 weeks into the new year, and we want to amend the budget to put a 3rd person on.
And the way you brought it to me, Mr. Talbot, was we're gonna do this to the end of the year, and then we were looking to bring in that person back.
I don't remember saying, from the beginning, I thought we needed
And-
to hire a part-time
But
clerical
did
person.
you have a problem with us hiring a 3rd person when we hired Lauren?
No, I didn't.
Okay,
But let me
because
tell you
we
something.
needed a
We
third
have-
person.
We have seen this council operate, this office has operated with 2 people very efficiently. The issue we
In a
have, the
COVID
issue we
year when
have,
nothing's going on.
the issue we have right now is that we have 1 clerk out on family medical leave, which leaves 1 clerk by themselves. It is a temporary problem that will resolve itself at the end of March. And we will have 2 people available all the time.
And how often will that clerk have to leave with her child that's just been born and leave one person in here again?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't have
we don't
any
know.
idea, but the fact of the
We
matter
don't
is,
know.
the fact of the
That's
matter
right.
is, when you have 2 people, then you have coverage. The issue we have now is we've got 1 person, and when that person leaves, then we have nobody. But I can tell you, she ain't gonna be able to lose much, because to use FMLA, you gotta burn all your comp time, all your vacation time, so I don't think they're gonna leave much.
All right, we got, first, Shane, you want to repeat your motion?
I'll try to do that.
Basically, your motion was to hire using the HARPA.
Yeah, I just want to say that I think it's a wise business decision to cover the cost, you don't, with the ARPA funding. And, I mean, anytime this council gets ready and they think this is the right time, COVID's no longer an issue, that, I mean, you can make that person permanent, and I just feel like that's a wise business decision to do that, and if we can extend it all the way to 2024, and
Get free money.
we can use money, we
It's
can use
rare.
money that was given to us by the federal government for this purpose, and I just think that's a wise decision, rather than using the money that we collect in the taxes. We could use that for other purposes, and their duties are not restricted, and I don't know, I just want to go ahead and make that motion that, we hire an employee. I think we plan on doing that tonight, and we use we make it a temporary position with intent to hire them on permanent whenever we decide that the temporary funding should not be used anymore, and we should go ahead and hire that person, and we need 3, and I'd like to make the motion that we use the Arbor funding to pay this employee. You know, they're not restricted on their salary amount, right? We can still pay them the exact same amount as we would pay a permanent employee.
The only thing that's different is you pay for them with ARPA funding.
Yeah, so I think
There's
that's
a need due to COVID.
I mean, that's just my opinion, though, and I'm not upset about anybody if they have a different opinion. I just think that's a wise business decision. I'd like to make that motion.
The problem may be to find someone that wants to take it on a temporary basis.
Well, they'll have the understanding that it's not temporary. That's what we need to make sure they know.
Well, so
The funding's temporary, but the person is really not, in my opinion. I mean, we could decide to keep them on.
What will dictate whether it's,
Well, so you're able to utilize the ARPA funding if you have a need due to COVID, if you have an increased workload, if you have to pay a higher rate to be competitive in the marketplace because of the shortage of workers and people who are paying premium pay due to COVID work, due to the shortage of work. It's to keep you competitive, or it's because your workload has increased. At the time period that y'all deem an employee that COVID is not creating the extra workload, that y'all just need 3 due to your normal course of business work, you make that employee a permanent employee.
and if it was this year, then you.
It could be 3 weeks from now.
Then in September, you would amend the budget to cover the difference in the.
Yes, but we are able to utilize ARPA funding for temporary employees if there's a need due to COVID. That can change at any time, but it has to end 12/31/2024.
Shane, what is your motion?
we got a second from Scooter on it.
Okay, but it's to hire an employee. Does it qualify? Are we hiring a deputy clerk? We have an office clerk. Do we know what the pay rate's gonna be or what the pay scale is on this person that we're authorizing to hire on?
We voted on that last year too, to make the 2 positions the same. And that was unanimous with everybody up here.
Replacing Miss Angie's position, right?
Yeah.
So whatever it was at.
So the motion is to use, use ARPA funds on a temporary employee at a deputy clerk's pay rate. What is that pay rate?
Don't make me lie to you. My memory's good, but it
No,
ain't
I don't
that
have a
good.
clue.
Starting pay is $18 an hour.
Isn't that what
No.
your daughter makes?
19 something.
Is it?
Yeah, they had an increase.
40,000 a year in 1923 an hour.
1923.
That seems reasonable to me.
All right. So we got a motion from Sane, we got a second from Scooter. All right. We're gonna call roll on this, Miss Sandy?
Mr. Mack,
Yes.
Mr. Wascom,
Yes.
Mr. Talbert,
Yes.
Mr. Harris, Mr. Delat,
Yes.
Mr. King,
Yes.
Mr. Garlinghouse,
Yes.
Mr. Ard.
Yes. All right. All right, now,
Good debate, gentlemen.
that takes care of the addendum.
You didn't have to say that.
All right, item 11, discussion and request for legal opinion on trucks hauling dirt on Debbie Lane. This has been pulled. Yep. Item 12, the weir on the diversion, Councilman Delat.
Yes, sir. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to maybe clarify a statement I made at the last meeting. The last meeting, I think, and I should have probably read the minutes, but the way I remembered it in my mind was that I wasn't too upset that we didn't have funding for the weir. I didn't feel like that would help any flood protection for Livingston Parish. And the basis of that statement was that it was, without the weir there, the water gets out quicker and faster. With the weir being up there, then it doesn't provide the same job. Why the weir is no longer there is people took that matter into their own hands and dynamited it, removed a lot of the rocks so the water could get out. That's what I made, but it seemed to offend the Speaker of the House, and that's why I got it up here. I want to assure the Speaker of the House my passion, my priority is flood protection for all of Livingston Parish, unlike what I think his priority is. and I'm gonna go in some details, being he made some comments about me. He was one of the main pushers to raise the Highway 22 up for Ascension Parish. That's who he's gonna help, Ascension Parish. He's not gonna help Livingston Parish any at all. If the weir gets built, that's a dam to keep the water from going to Ascension Parish. That also helps Ascension Parish. It doesn't help us at all. He also made the threat, is what I took it, he called it a promise. He also made a threat to me at Marport High School in front of another representative, who I'm not gonna call his name, was there and heard it also, and said that they was gonna raise 16, where they're building a new bridge to pump additional water into Livingston. So I don't see anything by his remarks or his past 12 years in government of any flood protection he has done for Livingston Parish to be concerned about my flood protection of Livingston Parish. So having said that, I would like to, and I know this will be political and I can understand if y'all can't vote on it, but I would like to pass a resolution asking him to endorse dredging or cutting a channel in Lake Marport, which would directly benefit East Baton Rouge, Ascension Parish, and Livingston Parish, because that's where every drop of that water has to go through. Or for him to come up with his own plan. One of those two things, to me, could show that he does have an interest in Livingston Parish and not just at election time. But I see Mr. Marks here, and I would like to ask him a question if the chairman allow me to do that.
Mark, you good with it?
Yeah. I want to ask Mr. Howard, at any time that I stop this weir project since I've been in office, did I do anything to tell you, no, don't go for it?
Absolutely not. No one on the council has ever had a negative comment about it.
In your opinion, is the weir even located in Livingston Parish?
No, it's fact, it's not in Livingston Parish. I don't know if you realize it, but it is not, and I can show you some USGS maps, because I know Frog don't want to take my word on it.
We can't trust you, Mark. We just can't trust you at all.
Well,
And you know I'm playing.
Some of us do.
You know I'm playing.
I don't know if it's both.
So Mark, if the weir's not Livingston Parish, why is it our responsibility to get it built or repaired?
In my opinion,
It's not our responsibility, Mr. Talbot. However, there were some concerns way back that the weir was causing some flooding. So we went through the hazard mitigation program to do nothing more than to study it and see if it would pass, if it would benefit. However, after we did the phase one of it, it will not benefit. Matter of fact, it will cause an adverse reaction to some folks just upstream. When you cause an adverse reaction to anything, FEMA or any federal dollars are stopped at that point. So the only way it could be done in the future is to mitigate the homes up above it. You can't force them to sell, you can't force them to elevate, so we're at a dead standstill. Now, I would like to go a little bit further, because I was, what's the best way to say this?
Delicate. That's how you do it.
Yeah, I really wasn't happy with a comment that I heard that someone made. So let's go a little bit further. 1965, I wasn't born yet, but the weir was completed. And at that point in time, with the Corps of Engineers, there was an agreement between Livingston, Ascension, and EBR to equally maintain the weir for eternity. I mean, it's all in the legal documents. But that was in 56.
Oh, 56.
You wasn't born yet either.
No,
but let's say this, in 63, when Randy was talking about the opening up the weir, having boat traffic through there. Ascension got that done with the Corps of Engineers' blessing, believe it or not, to put a channel there to move back and forth. But in May of '63, there was an agreement signed at that point in time that Ascension would maintain the weir from now to eternity on their own.
Can we get our hands on that agreement? Is it possible to get our hands on that agreement?
I'll text it to you in a little bit.
Please.
Yes.
Because
If,
the
if
way
I'm
I
gonna
was
say it,
approached,
I have backup for it. I promise
the
you.
way I was approached is that we're gonna build that weir. And apparently we're not. Right, Randy?
Who told you he was gonna do that?
Clay Shakes Knife.
And what did he say was gonna happen if we didn't do the weir?
Gonna cut out all funding for our road projects in Livingston Parish.
He was gonna punish the citizens of Livingston Parish because
That
we
he
were,
represents.
Which I have no desire to get in a pissing match with Clay, but that's the wrong way to approach things. You know, especially if it's not our duty to take care of that weir.
It's not.
You know,
It
look,
is
if
not.
it's ours, then we would have to either decide to fix it or not, right, Randy? I mean, if we,
I agree.
you know, and if it said in documents that we had to rebuild it, we would rebuild it. But it's not. It's not in our parish.
So we go a little bit further with it. When we started the mitigation project to see if it was a good project, we asked the other two parishes if they would help us with the cost share. That's always our problem. Getting the funding
Right.
is easy, thanks to the federal government. However, there's a cost share with everything. So we thought that, look, let's get our two neighboring parishes to agree to do a third of it. I couldn't get a third of just the phase one.
Right.
But we owe it to our citizens. I think every one of you agree, we owe it to the citizens to do the research to see if it would benefit the citizens. However, it doesn't.
Well, then it
So
should
we
be
can't
done.
always do something in another parish if it benefits our citizens, but it doesn't.
Okay. So,
But I'll send each one of y'all.
So the resolution that I was asking support on, guys, is that our flood problem is just not a Livingston problem. It's just not a District 8 problem or District 1 problem. Our flood problem needs to be a state mandated problem. Just like they're raising the road up to help Ascension, they call that a state project. That takes sponsorship from our representative, Clay Shake Snyder. I would ask him to support a project that would alleviate flooding in Livingston Parish. My personal pet, which I know would work, P, is a channel through Lake that
Do
would
you
be
need a
all the way
second on
out,
that?
all the way out.
I will.
Wait, all the way out to the North Pass.
That's a good project.
All the way, but if he has a better project that's most cost effective, I am mostly happy to see him do something
Just
for
help us.
flood protection of Livingston Parish. So I would like to pass a resolution recommending that project, that he get behind it, or one that's just as good or better or anything that he feels like would help the flood protection of Livingston
Okay,
Parish.
100%.
Before you second, I want to ask you, do you think it would be good if we sent it to all of our representatives?
I
instead
think
of
we should
just
send
Clay?
it, but he's the speaker. But
Yeah,
I think he
well-
should, he has more power. He's threatened to take money away from the citizens of Livingston Parish for us not building that weir, that we have no
I just
obligation
would-
to,
Right.
that doesn't
I'm
work.
just
That's
looking-
my concern. Look, if we doing something that we need to do, ain't doing something that we need to do, then just tell us and we'll see if we can't make it happen. It doesn't matter what it is. But to just say, look, you don't build it, you're not getting road funds, that don't smell right to me.
I mean, look, this is my concern.
You got a good
It-
point.
Yeah, if, it's kind of like sending an email. If
Yeah.
I send it to just you,
You
you're
got a
gonna
good
read it
point.
and go, but if you see I CC a couple other people,
You got a great
you're
point.
gonna pay a little more attention to it.
I say our whole entire legislative delegation, Senate and Rep, along with the governor's office.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, I'll second that. Yes.
All right. We got a motion from Mr. Latt and a second from Mr. King. We
Wait,
have
wait.
any more comments?
Can I add something?
Hold.
Sure.
Let's let Mr. Mark go first and then you next, Bo.
I would add Ament River Basin Commission to that.
Great,
I agree.
great,
Okay.
great.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark. We
Thanks,
appreciate
All
it.
right, Mr. Bo?
Yeah, I have a question, and maybe Mr. Mark can answer it, I don't know. why was the diversion weir built?
That's way before my time.
I know a little bit about the
It wasn't
history.
at my time.
I have a little bit of
Bubba
that
probably
history.
was here there helping them, so.
He probably put
You
rocks
worked
in
on it.
there.
I thought you worked on that project.
He probably did put rocks on it.
But no, I was told in the past that it was built, and that's the reason they call it diversion, is to divert that water coming down Amite River. Certain amount would go across and go into the diversion canal. The rest of it would go on down Amite River and keep it from silting up so bad. They got places now, it used to be 25, 30 feet deep. Just barely 5 feet deep. So whenever they stopped the water from going on down, it silted up.
I would like to rebut that, Mr. Harris. That's exactly word for word what the speaker said, and that's not true, y'all. That river is full of water all the time, most of the time on the parish roads and in people's houses. It gets plenty of water down there. The only time that way it's within its bank is sometime during the winter when the north wind blows 2 or 3 days in a row. There's always water there. If that was true, why does the lake fill up? Why does the Mississippi River have to be dredged? Why does everything have to be dredged? Silt buildup will always be silt buildup if you don't remove it. The current will not remove silt buildup. That's why we just redid the Tickfaw River again. There's no weir over there. There's more than enough water that comes through Amite River. Does it need to be dredged? Most certainly. Is there a lot of silt in it? Most certainly. But the reason that they made a boat passage, and Ascension Parish was in favor of that, is at that time 80% of the recreational boat clubs belonged to Ascension Parish. They even got a boat club on that diversion right there, and they needed that for recreational use. Now, would they like to build that back for flood protection? I'm sure they would, but it's going to be an interim turmoil between the parishes. You know, some's going to want it for flood protection to build it back up, to build a dam or levee for them, and some's going to want the access. So they're not going to probably fight that. But the minute they do build it up, when they did the first, you used to have just enough room for one boat to pass through there. You had to know where you was passing at. Well, over the times, people has removed that, and it's as wide as from here to the parking lot in the front now, because it gets the water out, and it gets it out quicker. And people that's tired of flooding is going to take care of their own problem. And they was able to do that, and that's what happened.
Working together is the key.
That's it.
On all of these things.
So we got a motion and a second. Sandy, you got all the different organizations?
I'm gonna have to just listen to the tape because there's so many different ones.
Okay, well, Randy stated them all. Mark added the,
Amite River Basin.
Amite River Basin Committee. So, all right, is there any comments from the public on this? All in favor? Any opposed?
Thank you, gentlemen, for living in
Thank you,
Parish.
Randy.
I think this had become the longest item on the agenda now.
Are we good?
All right.
Thank y'all, guys.
Thank you.
All right, Mark, thank you.
Mark.
Item 13, adopt a resolution to add the following roads for consideration on the priority road capital outlay. Looks like they're all in John's district, so I'll just name them, Fern Drive, Elmer Street, Montgomery Avenue, and Bruce Drive, all in District 4.
And-
And Willowbrook Avenue,
Yeah,
all in District 4.
I'd like to make a motion to put these on there. I got a phone call from the mayor of Denham Springs.
I second that.
And he's just, I would like to, again, compliment the council. I got a feedback from the mayor. He said, John, I'm amazed at the amount of roads that y'all have done since y'all have taken off office. He's just talking about Denham Springs, but I just want you to know they're really proud of this council and the work we're doing. So I'd like to make that motion.
I'll second that.
Well, we had a second from Girdinghouse
You don't
already.
even live over there.
Does anybody else have any to add before we vote on this?
No, I thought I
It's
did,
open.
and I'm not.
Okay, all right, we had a motion. You got the motion, a second, and a second? All right, any comments from the public? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, item 14, board appointments. Quality Assurance Panel, this is Mr. Gerald McMorris. Did he speak to anyone on this? Sandy, do you have the information on it? Where we
Yeah,
can
he.
go ahead and do it for him?
Asked me at the last meeting to put this on here.
Okay.
And to appoint him.
I mean, she's already got the information, so it's when y'all make the motion for him.
I can.
If you want to name,
It's Gerald
say,
McMorris to put in the place of Jeff Averett.
Gotcha.
okay.
Oh,
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second.
So we have a motion from Mr. Delat, second from Mr. Harris. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. Then we have a Fire Protection District Number 9, Mr. Delat.
I want to reappoint the ones whose expired, terms expired, and I don't see it in front of me, Sandy.
It's Mr. MacArthur Semino.
Yes.
His appointment will be until January the 1st, 2024. And Mr. Dwayne Brown, he will run the same January 1st, 2024.
I'd like to make that a motion to reappoint them.
I'll second.
All right. Motion, Mr. Delat, second from Mr. Harris. Is there any comments? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, let's move on to 14C, Carter Plantation Community Development District. Mr. Delat, we have to accept the resignation and then appoint a board member.
I would like to accept the resignation of Mayor Gillis Wyndham for health reasons. He's done an outstanding job. He was the first original one there. He was the board chairman, and he's going to resign due to health issues. Can we do them all in one motion, or got to do two?
Yep, we can do them both, or we
And
need to
I
do them
wanna-
separate, Sandy.
It makes the paperwork
Let's-
easier.
let's do it
if you
separate, so-
Because we
I'll
send a
second.
We got
letter
a
thanking
motion
him
from
for his
Mr. Delat, a
service.
second from Mr. Girlinghouse to accept the resignation of Mr. Gillis Wyndham. Is there any comments? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, appointment?
I'd like to appoint Sheriff Jason Orden to fill that vacancy. He's a member of that community. He lives there, and everybody knows he's a fine man, he's a great leader, and it's someone that's going to make that committee.
That's gonna be hard for me, Randy.
I'll second.
We just don't.
We got a motion from Mr. Delat, a second from Mr. Girlinghouse. Any comments on this? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. 15, committee reports. Ordinance Committee. I know we haven't had a meeting yet, but the last council meeting, we had talked about who was going to be on the Ordinance Committee. Mr. Talbot is asked to be off of the Ordinance Committee, so I called around. Mr. Wascom said he would gladly be on it and is also offered to be the chairman of Ordinance. So,
Thank you.
And Mr. Girlinghouse is going to be vice chair.
I took that under consideration, and I told him I'd be glad to do that and serve. And I spoke with Miss Sandy, I spoke with, I don't want to have it spoke with is Scooter. Maybe I did, but I talked to Tracy, and, let's see, Shane knows as well, is on there. What I'd like to do is establish the ordinance committee meetings at 4:30 on the same night as the council meetings. Now, if we have to have a special meeting, we'll do that for other nights if we get bogged down and that's not enough time. But from 4:30 to 5:30 should give us plenty enough time to get the ordinance committee going. And I think we have a great team. And so y'all let me know what you want on the agenda. We'll get it. We'll talk about it.
I got no issue with it.
We'll work hard. Thank you, Scooter. Thank you so much. We'll work hard to try to get ordinances that benefit the people of this parish. And Mr. Gerald has called me and told me he'd be glad to help me as well. So, and when you put him on something, he can research it and does a great job. So I'm looking forward to it serving. Thank you.
All right, Finance Committee, our new chairman, Mr. Scooter
Yes,
King.
sir. We met tonight, and Miss Jennifer had some really good news on sales tax. It's still coming in good. Everything's looking good there. She didn't have such good news on insurance. It's going to cost us quite a bit. We did some different things tonight. You guys did tonight too. Well, we may need to make a recommendation from the council to, what exactly was it?
Cap the insurance.
Cap the insurance at 25 million on our, I guess it's hurricane.
Named storm.
Named
coverage.
storms.
And then on the was it automobile? No, it was on the machinery. On the machinery
Low deductible.
to lower the deductible to 1,000, it's gonna cost us extra $3,600 a year from 10,000.
I'd like to make that in one motion.
Yeah, I think
I'll
that's a
make
good
this-
idea,
What's-
guys.
Was it a third one?
No, I think it was only two. Just two.
Just two?
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
All right.
you know, the insurance is skyrocketing. She thought it was gonna be good, budget in $500,000 for insurance. It's not even close.
So the motion is to tell Miss Jennifer that we want to do the cap at 25 on the named storm and, the
Increase $3,600 on the.
$3,600 on the,
Premium on
vehicles.
the
That-
no, on the equipment.
That was a recommendation.
Lower the deductible from 10,000 to 1,000.
Sir?
That was a recommendation of finance.
Yeah.
Right.
That
So
was-
I'm gonna second it. Let
Okay.
them make the motion.
Second from Mr. Delat.
Okay.
All right, is there any comment from the public on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Councilman comments. Any comments?
I got one
Oh,
comment.
Oh, wait a minute.
Where you at?
Before we do, well, he's gone. Councilman comment.
He told me to take care of it. Just
You-
hand me the check.
Okay.
No report.
Well, I don't know. Let's see if you've been listening. What are you supposed to say?
I've had years since been out.
I have nothing to.
There you go.
Send
Hey,
the check.
Mr. Talbot been paying
And that's
attention.
two more words than you normally say.
Yeah,
Minus the I have.
Yeah.
Nothing to report.
all right. So now Councilman comments.
Yes, sir.
Mr. King?
Yeah, Saturday at the Livingston Fairgrounds, we're having a major fundraiser for the Quad Area Vets and Mission 22. That's it's the Live Oak Watson Gumbo Cook-Off, and it's run by Bobby Joe Cox and Berlin Cox, and it's a great thing. Come out, $15 a head. You get all the gumbo you want. They're gonna have live music. It'll be a great day. It's gonna be cold gumbo weather. Everybody come out. I think it opens at 10. And we're gonna start cooking at about 8 o'clock. 50 teams have signed up to cook this time.
Wow.
You know, COVID killed us last year, and everything that you see, and people are coming out and supporting it because it's time to get out, guys.
Good.
Today was so beautiful.
Fresh air, boy.
right.
I wore shorts. I froze early.
Wait, I
Wait,
got a
wait.
comment. I want to let everybody know that our deputy clerk, Ms. White, had a healthy 9-pound, 6-ounce baby boy that was 22 inches long. And Ryan Hayes is doing very well.
That's good. Yeah, right. That's right. Yep. Go ahead, Pawpaw.
Yeah. All right, so any more comments? I already got a motion from Mr. Wascom. He jumped the gun on that, so I'm gonna give you the second on this one, Mr. Harris. All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.